zombie for us here. Now, here's a good one for you. This ain't the actual cannon, but my grandfather inherited one of these from his grandfather. If that makes any sense. It's actually, his was a little different, but it was a howitzer, and it was called a pounder. The pounder had a 4-inch bore. My grandfather's had a 4-inch bore size on it, and it was about 72 inches in depth. So she cracked a pretty good boom. The actual cannon still exists, but it's put away inside of a shed, out of the weather, out of the elements. But it's a really cool little gun, and I remember when I was a wee lad, the cannon sat in my grandfather's front yard of his house, and I would go in there into the gun cabinet, and he would look at me and he would say, "Boy, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to load the cannon." He loved to hear the cannon, Even when he was in his late 80s, he would say, use a longer fuse so you can get back away from it if you're going to shoot it. And you're talking about a 14, 15-year-old kid shooting a 4-inch, 72-inch in length howitzer pounder cannon, a real one. And we would load it with golf balls and a wad of golf balls instead of steel shot, because that cannon, I actually cut about a 30-inch tree completely in half with that little cannon right there. One of those right there. It's a howitzer pounder. You can imagine the responsibility that goes behind that, but that's just a little piece of zombie history, and it absolutely thrilled my grandfather to know that he actually had a grandson that was capable of handling such a weapon at 14, 15 years old, And I virtually, in the end, got the keys to it, and still got it locked away, put away. But anyways, any of you arms-loving people out there recognize this one right here. This is one that I was passed down to me from my great-grandfather. That there is a Winchester 1886 chambered 50 cal. Very, very powerful little thing there, and whenever my grandfather passed on, I wound up with one of these. I don't have an actual picture of the gun. It was donated. I donated the gun to the Cumberland Museum in Nashville. They've got possession of it. It's a 1886 Winchester bolt action 50 cal. And that was my gun of choice when I was probably, first time I ever got the courage to squeeze the trigger on the thing. I think I was about 8 years old, but you can't imagine way back when, being able to take this down out of the gun cabinet at the house and load one in the chamber and squeeze it off. You're talking about a 50 cal, and it had a little bit of punch to it, but I donated that gun to the museum to make sure it had a home for as long as they could keep it, because that's those guns right here, these are rare, and all I had the benefit of life, I'm getting older, was the opportunity to own such a fine arm. It was a real good rifle. I hunted with this rifle right here up until I was about, I guess, in my 30s. And then I had the 30-30 edition in the same gun. 1886 30-30 bolt action. One of my aunts gave me the gun for my birthday, the 30-30, and just to key you in, I'll get into some zombie stories, give some people some stuff to think about. But my aunt, believe it or not, a woman, she was the state champion archer in the women's division for 3 years back then. She was a woman that was capable of splitting an arrow with an arrow, you know, so we're talking cowboys and Indians type shit going on here. But anyways, that's a fine one there, you know. And I remember the first time I shot that gun, it was I was about 8 years old, maybe 9, and I had the gun. They gave the gun to me at birth. It was just in the gun cabinet. And when I got old enough to get the courage enough to finally just go out there on the property and squeeze the trigger, that's the first gun I had opportunity of squeezing the trigger right there. And I will say, I was glad I was well braced when I did. It's really not a video about weapons. It's about responsibility of it, you know. That's what the people I was raised around taught me, and then hopefully people will teach theirs the same. Zombie Force out.